I think it got pushed around.
Don't move, we can all hear it.
Oh, by the way, I ordered
four lights over this one. Got to share a table.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
They still have fix that.
I didn't realize that.
Right?
We turn off your street lights at night too, so
We probably want to.
do you want just one signature on one of these green ones here?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's the right answer. We got 4 minutes if you guys want to keep talking. Nobody has to be quiet.
We're going to wait and listen to see what you have to say, Joe.
All right. Well, let me air some grievances. The way this snow's melting.
Hey, I'm satisfied when we got. I just talked to my parents and they just did their 4th attempt at getting their snow off their deck. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I'm happy with where we're at.
Right on.
Their high was only 40 something today. Ours was 61 or 2.
I hope you told her, Barry.
What's that?
I hope you told them.
I did tell her. I said that's why you should have further south yet, Mom.
Marketing. Get them here.
Yeah. Yeah, they were in that big sludge dumping up there in Minnesota.
Yeah.
We had like 16 inches of snow last week.
Wow. Yikes.
Yep.
I heard you were otherwise exposed. Got a high tide haircut more? Look at you. You got a wedding or a funeral? This is the petitioner. Really well.
You gotta look good, get a cut, you go see Dr. Conway.
Yes.
Maybe it's home show season.
Give him his time.
Yeah. We don't look very good. I don't know. This past week. Yep. No. Well.
Yeah, he tried to go to the wrestling tournament, he found out just how good it was.
Which is the problem. So I was thinking about building. Okay, that's one move. I got a place by it.
Go ahead and don't take this.
Yeah.
You were not so much. You were just taking it.
20 years since I had a home show. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll do like the big metal ones. It doesn't look better. Oh,
Because when we come out with it,
one of those long residential. tennis court proposal, item F under new business. We move PD hire to C under personnel and add PD resignation as B under personnel.
All right, any other items?
Motion approved. Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Who's gonna look with me?
Aye, sorry.
Any opposed? All right, agenda is approved as amended. Next item is visitors to be heard. Any member of the public may speak under this topic. Anyone wishing to address the council should use the mic, will use the podium. Please raise your hand if you're recognized for the podium, state your name and address, and your remarks are limited to a 2-minute time frame. Hello,
Hello,
your name please?
my name is Rhoda Strasser.
Thank you. Yes,
Do you need my address? or-
sure. It's better.
Well,
Yes,
I
take
did.
it. Yes, I did. What's your address?
113 South Garfield.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Rhoda.
Okay. So, my name is Rhoda Strasser, resident of Lennox. I wish to express views on the leasing of the senior community center to a food serving establishment. Have you all been in the building of which I speak? This building was built in 2005 with a grant and many donations of money and time from the community. It was designated by the city as a community entity. Many groups have used and are using this building, such as Sanford Health and Foot Care, Meals on Wheels, senior meetings, congregate meals, receptions, township and city meetings, graduations, showers, funeral lunches, and other community activities. Where else can someone rent an awesome facility as this building for such an affordable rental fee of only $100? With the expansion of new homes and population growing, a special building like this should be a great asset to the city. Many cities do not have such accommodations. I would encourage you to stop in and see the community center of Lennox that is being utilized by many of the Lennox community. It needs to be promoted and not abandoned. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Helen Brown, 108 South Poplar.
Thank you.
I just want to tell you about one of the services that are provided at the building. Meals on Wheels are delivered from Active Generations in Sioux Falls every day, about 9:15. Some of those meals are then taken to Parker for those seniors. But our meals are delivered to probably 10 to 15 clients in Lennox every day. Most of those don't have a car to go out to eat somewhere, and many of them don't have a family member in Lennox as well, so they are dependent on our meals every day. One of the things about that too is they don't get out, most of them, so the one person coming every day to talk to them and to just have a visit with them, and also if they don't answer the door and the door is open, they go in, check that there's nobody sick or on the floor, they go into the bedroom, make sure everybody is okay, and if we don't hear or see something, we generally call back later in the noon hour or something to make sure they are back home and there is no medical emergency. Our congregate clients come in to meet during the noon hour, of course, but many of us are single and we enjoy the camaraderie and the time of eating together rather than eating a cold sandwich at home. So we would just say we also do, then there's two of us that work one a day, but we collect the money for the meals and we keep records that our government asks you know, some money in count, and there's a lot of paperwork to keep government happy. Some of the clients get reduced or free meals because of financial difficulties, and that's all determined by government accounting. So when you're considering leasing the building, we just would like you to consider the importance of the Meals on Wheels program. But also, we have exercises for anybody that wants to come twice a week. We have potlucks, we have Wii bowling, so we would just like you to remember that the community is using the building, and we really appreciate the fact of that. And we thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Nate, is this an appropriate time to ask some questions about the senior center and the amount used?
I think we can, probably shouldn't, but we can, but I would say let's wait until all the commenters are finished.
Thank you.
No.
My name is Tony Gremner, and I live in Tar Apartments at 301 South Cedar in Lenature. I came down to talk about the lease that we had, the city, and I came down to talk to Nate about how much, you know, that we were losing all the support, so we couldn't afford to keep it open, keep paying all the bills. And then I suggested he had about $200 or $300 a month. And then, so he kind of wrote it all down and said, so this and that. And he went to work and they went to work and they came down with a proposal that they would what they would charge us and everything else. They gave us a proposal lease and everything else. And then all once they came down and offered to write a contract for $300 a month. And I figured, well, that'd be pretty good because $300 a month and $100 they got from the active generation of Sioux Falls. And that'd be $400 a month. And then plus you guys we let you guys be in charge of renting the place. And being you guys be on the website and everything else, advertise a little more, and you get $100 rent. And usually we rent the place out for 1.5. We figure about once a month or 1.5 times, at 1.5 rent, you know, month every month. And but all I say, nobody ever came back to a lease agreement. Just not came back and gave us anything to sign. So once everybody said, well, you guys offered, said you'd pay all the bills, then all once you want to move us out of the center and turn it over to church, and you're going to pay the church so much money a month to take us, and you turn around and you don't want any money from us. We didn't want the free gratis. We wanted to pay you some money, and but we couldn't pay all the bills, you know, because the light bill, of course, light bill's gone down now because we don't have a cook down there and everything else like that. So that's that I feel like we kind of left sitting up in the open there. Nobody's ever come back to the contract or anything else out there. So that's my talk. Right, that's all I got to say.
All right, thank you. Any other visitors to be heard? Brittany, did you want to ask your question, or should we move on?
I would just like a breakdown of the monthly and annual usage on all the different amenities that were discussed. So, for example, and not just a ballpark, but an actual data figure of how often the facility is rented for like graduations, etc. I'm not questioning these, and just I would just like to see that on paper, kind of how often, and how those, I want to look at how that can be accommodated, just to make sure that we're utilizing the best use of space. I don't think our intent is to stop any facilities in the community, but how can we best offer all of the amenities we want to offer with the space we currently have?
In terms of current use, maybe Tony can correct me if any of these are off, but I'm guessing about 25 hours a week for Meals on Wheels. At the most. Couple hours a week for social events. Couple rentals a month. I mean, right now, we've had it for 2 months now, and this past weekend was the first rental we've had that we've scheduled in the last 2 months. I think there's one. Oh, that's right, Southeastern Electric had it, event as well. So 2 events in the past 2 months. We have one graduation scheduled, one graduation party.
There's one family event coming up too.
And another family event coming up through end of May.
So is there any other spaces like that in town that offer that service today?
I'm told that the old cabinet shop down here rents out space now, but I've not seen what they charge or.
On Main Street?
Yeah, two doors down. 4-H, the 4-H event as well.
And some accommodations have been made, and like you've done some legwork talking with some churches about where to shift the programs, correct?
Yes, yeah, if we were to go down this route, we wouldn't want to do it without finding some kind of home for all the services.
And none of the amenities would go away, correct?
Our goal is to keep all the services intact.
Someone mentioned the 4-H building north of town. Do they rent out their facility, and what does that cost?
They do.
They do, I don't know. We'd have to talk to Wendy Sweeter to find out.
I mean, I absolutely see the value in a community center. I don't want a community center to go away, but like I said, as we look at our community impact survey, we're hearing from the community that we want a restaurant in town. We want more facilities to be available here. We don't want to see anything go away or take someone's space, but also being able to offer all the amenities that are valuable for the community at large, and how to best utilize what we have available to us today at this time.
All right. Thank you, Brittany. Brittany Mowers was on the phone. She's not here tonight. It's announced, yeah. All right. Seeing no other visitors to be heard, we will move on to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve is amended, or motion to approve, sorry. Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on that?
Comment on the redone benches. They look fantastic. The pictures that are posted in the packet.
Agreed.
That's well done. Thank you for that.
Do you have any pictures of the office in the park shop?
office, I skipped that.
We can send those out.
Curious to see what it looks like.
Any timeline or update on West Evergreen that we know of?
As soon as we have all of the playground equipment. As soon as we get in touch with Crouch to schedule their federal safety guy, he was aware that he wasn't going to be able to get here last year when we were going to put it up. So as soon as we can get him scheduled when the ground thaws, we can start getting all the rest of the materials and then drilling holes for everything else. So hopefully as soon as the ground thaws, we can start rolling on all these projects we got sitting waiting. So
Wednesday, awesome.
yeah, I hope so. Yeah, and the volleyball courts as well. The sand's so deep, it's real hard to get any equipment on it. So we're kind of looking at a time where it's half frozen, where we can actually get something on it and knock it down at the same time. Try to do one pass, and then hopefully within maybe a day we'll have the rest of the sand, and then we can finish setting up the rest of the net system, and we might have to figure out some sort of anchoring for the boundaries and hopefully keeping all the same on the courts. So we might have to come up with some sort of border or fill in the middle, but hopefully within a week of when we can get on top of it, should be completely done.
Cool. Thank you.
Kyle, your numbers consistently come in awesome with our water management. Thank you for the efforts of you and your team. It's pretty awesome to see it. You know, we take it for granted having good, clean water, and you're very responsible for that. So thank you for doing such. The three you mentioned there was some ammonia smell with some of the new ones, and that's coming from new hookups, or what was in the lines from construction, if I'm reading that right?
You're referring to chlorine.
Yeah.
The CO2 is the abbreviation for that. That's what I put in the report there. When they do the installation, they're required to do a chlorine to disinfect any of the main lines. And when they do that, the contractor may not flush all that out, so it's been sitting there. And since there's such little users out there, they most likely just sat in line until we had our first hookup and they experienced a high odor. So he just requested that, do some flushing, and I took care of it.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks.
All right, any other items there? All right, we'll do roll call. Spear?
Aye.
Welch?
Aye.
Doherty?
Aye.
Mauer?
Aye.
Riley?
Aye.
And Bowers?
Aye.
All right, consent agenda is approved. Seeing no old business, we will move on to new business. Item A is ordinance 627, amending chapter 6 and chapter 9 of the Lennox municipal ordinances.
Mayor and Council, this is part 1 of 3 of some long-coming ordinance updates that I've worked with the Planning Commission on, and the new code enforcement or code inspection and code official. This first ordinance changes really just 3 areas. Revises some of our standard language in chapter 6 to clarify excavation and excavation permits, sidewalks, and those things. The biggest change is going to be, what I would think is the biggest change is updating the 2018 codes to 2021. So that's International Building Code, International Residential Code, and International Property Maintenance Code. And last, but it removes references to any local exemptions. So building codes always say you can take what we have and make exemptions in your local code. We're removing all references to that in an effort to make it more uniform across the region with what's expected in terms of building code. So if the building code allows it, that's what we're generally sticking with at this point. It was reviewed by the Planning Commission on February 24, and they recommended passage to the City Council. I recommend a motion to approve first reading.
So moved. Second.
All right, a motion and a second. My only question was, I know it was talked about at planning and zoning as well, but did you look to see what Sioux Falls had done for their exemptions?
I have not.
That was a discussion that Sioux Falls just approved the 2021 as well, but they had a handful of exemptions to what they wanted to do. And it was just discussed that maybe we should look to see what those were, if they were worthy of us making those exemptions as well. But we can always add things to our.
Yeah, I would simply make it another first reading, which is not a problem at all. We're not on a tight timeline for anything here.
I think that makes sense too.
Yeah. All right, so we have a first and a second. Is there any other further discussion? All right, so all in favor of first ordinance?
Aye.
First reading.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so first reading has been approved for ordinance 627. On to item B, ordinance 628, amending Lennox zoning regulations.
Mayor and Council, this is the second of 3 changes. Years ago, the zoning ordinances were changed to restrict building materials on schools and churches within single and multifamily zones. We consider those to be aesthetic in nature. The banned materials are typically allowable in modern buildings. So we're recommending changes and relying on the building code and the residential code. One thing that came up at the Planning Commission meeting on Thursday night, we've since updated, is that Chapter 12.10 still states that roofing materials on residential shall be wood, shingle, or shake, composition, asphalt, laminate, clear, architectural metal. I recommend updating that language to delete this section for the same reasons as above. And really what I recall that was about steel roofs with exposed fasteners. Again, if we're saying if the building code accepts it, we will accept it.
Motion approved, sir. First reading. Second.
Motion a second. Any discussion on that? So just to be clear, so we are or are not going to now allow?
We should clarify the
We
motion.
are.
Do you want to include the language deleting the section 12.10?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So we are now going to allow metal roofs for,
As long as they pass. As long as they.
Whatever passes building code.
so we have motion a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, first reading of 628 has passed. Item C, ordinance 629, light industrial, heavy industrial parking materials.
And the last of three. This is something that came from the planning commission largely last year. We had a couple of light industrial users that would have preferred to use milled asphalt for their parking areas. The planning commission did allow that in both cases, and would recommend, they voted to recommend changing that in our ordinances as well. So this language would be changed to add milled asphalt to the list of already approved items.
What else is an approved item now?
Concrete, asphalt, concrete pavers. There are certain allowances for gravel.
Does that have to be self-pick?
It does not, no. It has to be essentially what they're looking for is a dust-free surface on driving and parking areas.
Well, that's what I was getting at. I mean, if it's only just a dusting, it's got, I mean, that's no breaks, it's pretty easy.
Do you remember how thick we laid it on the pool parking lot?
4 inches.
About 4 inches there.
Well, it's 2 inches at a time, but two seasons, so 4 inches total.
Yeah, I think people will do it the right way, but I don't know if we want to put like a certain thickness.
So it should be the, how could you say that? Well, 4-inch asphalt bed is typical.
I mean, I don't know if you would need necessarily 4 inches, but I don't think you want an inch.
Right.
Well, it does state in there, any gravel surface must be adequately maintained to provide a dust-free surface and adequate drainage. I think
But that's gravel. I mean, this is crushed blacktop, basically, right?
Yeah. You can say right in the ordinance, a minimum of.
I think you do a minimum of 4 inches, if that's what we require on our roads. You okay with that, Mr. Street Superintendent?
They not opposed to it,
Okay. Would you recommend that much or more?
at least 2.
I was gonna say,
I would say 3, but
around 2.5, 3 would be.
So the motion should be
Okay, you got it.
The motion should be as amended when they get to that point.
I mean, it's not spanning 4 inches.
No, compared to regular asphalt, that would still be quite a bargain.
Motion approved as amended.
Second.
motion a second. Any further discussion on there? So we're gonna put 4 inches in the ordinance?
Yep.
Gotcha. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, first reading of ordinance 629 has been approved. On to item D, Sioux Falls Humane Society Agreement.
Mayor and Council, standard agreement here, no changes from the most recent agreement that was passed last year. Humane Society typically takes care of most of our animal control cases, dogs at large, stray cats to a lesser degree, not wild animals typically. Game Fish Department will typically be called out to assist us with turkey calls. But the offender in these cases is typical for is responsible for the boarding costs and anything else there. So I recommend a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second, any discussion on there? All in favor?
Aye.
approve the agreement with Sioux Falls Humane Society. Item E, Resolution 2022-2-28-01, SMGA Advisory Board appointment.
As a member of the Sioux Metro Growth Alliance, we need to annually appoint a member to represent Lennox on the advisory board. The most recent years, that's been filled by Cherise, the current president of Lennox Area Development Corporation. I suggest she continue in that role. New this year is the appointment of an alternative. I'm willing to serve there, but if anybody else wants to, I'm not going to stand in your way.
I think that would be a pretty good spot for the mayor as the alternate. If you have time.
Look at me.
I'm just- How often does the alternate have to go, or get to go, I should say?
Once or twice a year. Cherise probably has one of the better attendance records on the membership advisory board. And to Mayor Duchesne's credit, she does go to most of the mayor roundtables, I want to say.
Yeah. I don't care.
Well, I can do it if you don't want to do it.
This week can do it for you.
Okay, I'll do it.
Alright. So we need
As
two,
the alternate.
so we need two motions, one for the board member.
I think it's just a resolution.
We need a motion to appoint Sharice and a motion to appoint Chad. No?
We'll do a motion to approve an amended resolution
Ah,
that replaces my name with Chad Riley.
Motion to approve an amended resolution that replaces Nate Vanderplas with Chad Riley.
Second.
motion and a second, any discussion on there? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Cherise.
Any opposed? Alright, thank you Sharice and Mr. Riley. On to item G, 2021 BCEGS evaluation.
Mayor and Council, I like to think that 3 years in this job, I'm not going to be surprised anymore, but I was last year. Every few years, we undergo what's called the Building Code Effectiveness Grading Schedule. Similar to ISO, you get a rating from 1 to 10 based on the effectiveness of your building and code enforcement practices. So our evaluation resulted in a rating of 6 on a scale of 1 to 10. So 10 is least effective, 1 is most effective. Our scores did increase over the 2017 evaluation, though our rating stayed the same. And we did score better than.
Point of clarification, increase is bad.
Our score increased, our rating stayed the same. So our score
increases.
your score, you do want to increase your score and reduce your grade. Yes. It's a little, I know. It took me reading through the evaluation a couple of times to realize how exactly they're doing.
Good, I just didn't want to pat ourselves on the back
If it went the wrong direction. Yes.
So they give us examples of what we can do to get that thing down to 5 or less?
Yeah, I talked with them. We did this, oh gosh, I want to say September, October last year, so it's been a while. But we did go through it, a couple of interviews with them, and we talked about things that we could easily do to improve, and those are noted as well on the evaluation. Just not like pointed out, here are things you can do better.
Do you have a couple of examples of what those would be? I mean, just ballpark, I mean.
Better final inspections. Our final inspections weren't great the last year because we didn't have a full-time full inspector. I think having better training and certifications is a big one. We didn't score real high in certifications, and we did have, when Greg was here, we did have him taking the courses. He was ready to take the test shortly before he left. So it is something that we'll be working on, getting Kyle all the trainings.
Is our shared person certified?
No, they'll be going to the trainings. I don't think they hold one at the spring conference, but they will have one later this year.
Sounds good.
Alright, so is this info, any further discussion on there, questions? Alright, oh, there. On to item H, Boynton Avenue Project Pay Application 2.
Mayor and Council, just a standard, this I think is our, second White Avenue reimbursement request to the DNR. I would recommend a motion to approve.
So move. Second.
Motion and second, any discussion on that? call. Mauer.
Aye.
Riley.
Aye.
Spear.
Aye.
Powers.
Aye.
Doherty.
Aye.
Welch.
Aye.
All right. Okay, Act 2 is approved. On to personnel, item A, library positions.
I'm here on ad hoc tonight. I have in your packets a proposal for 2 hires. I'm gonna look over Nate's shoulder for just a moment, sorry guys. We have motion to hire Megan Laffers for $9.95 to facilitate after-school activities such as Lego Club and then Girls Who Code, along with any activities that we may organize along with that. In addition, she would work as needed when others may not be able to work at the desk or something like that if there's any vacations or time offs. The other motion would be to hire then Vanessa Gable, who is currently the school librarian. That one is at $11.50 to assist with library as needed during the summer reading program and extra hours and such as during the summer as well. She's very fluent with everything, so I would trust her taking over. Not much training there. Knows the kids and would continue to get to learn, meet with the kids and stuff like that. So she would be able to cover possibly anything that I might not be able to be there for or anything like that. So.
How many hours a week are we talking for each person?
Oscar, can I ask a question about the difference in just the pay variation of those 2 positions?
Megan Leffers is actually a college student at this point, getting into library technology and whatnot, and her hours are going to be very minimal, possibly 10 hours a week for 4 weeks here coming up for this school year, and then maybe 10 hours here or there over the summer. Vanessa's could possibly be a few more during the summer, depending on what we have going on and different things like that. She's got more experience with the library. That's kind of why I was weighing her a little bit more.
Yeah, I would attribute that difference in wage to level of experience and training. Ms. Gable has been at the library for this school year, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So she's fairly familiar with how we work, how the system works, the catalog is set up, so on and so forth, and we have to, don't require as much training and have more experience there.
And we have Denise, we have this budgeted for and accounted for. Yeah, is there a certain dollar amount or hour limitation that we have? I mean.
No, I mean, I think.
They aren't budgeted positions under this year's budget. But we do have room in the budget to.
I was gonna say, because usually I think she includes seasonal, so that's what I was thinking.
Right, so the after-school position would be under.
Yeah, I guess that was my question, is there, are we approving her, like if she wants to let her go for 40 hours a week for the rest of the year, or is it?
No.
I know that's not the intent, but is there any kind of limit that we need to put on?
I think that could be appropriate.
Yeah, and the other thing is that a lot of the times I don't have my regular staff necessarily always there as well either. When there's holidays, they don't work, so those hours fluctuate as well.
So you're not adding another position, you're just filling in open hours, essentially.
Essentially,
It's all hourly people.
yes.
Do we have an ACA maximum for part-time as needed where they cannot go over a certain number of hours to not be benefit eligible?
I think we're a ways away from that, but we can check.
It's 30, well,
I just think it's important to identify what that is.
so it's,
Good call out, Remy.
it's 40 hours or 2,080 hours a year. Because we don't have anything that we give benefits to for part-time.
No, so that's not benefit eligible.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion on that? All right, all in
I
favor?
have one.
Oh, sorry.
Do we have a Boys Who Code program?
Actually, the Girls Who Code program, in Aberdeen alone, they have, I think it is 2 or 3 boys that come to their Girls Who Code classes. So it's not necessarily,
It's more the name of the program.
it's more the name of the program.
Can
Yes.
we call it Kids Who Code or something like that?
We could, but we're following like a national club type thing, so boys are not discriminated from coming there. They can come, is what it's.
Is there a program, Boys Who Code?
Not that I know of. It's like we have nowadays, we have Boy Scouts and we have girls that join Boy Scouts, so.
Well, I just think we wanna.
Are we able to market it to all kids somehow
Yes.
so that
Yes.
are aware that
Yes.
boys are important?
Yes. And that is something I'll be doing more this fall. I have some more training to go through this summer and stuff with through the state library, because they're kind of hand in hand with the local libraries and stuff like that on that program. It is something that is fairly new that's being handed down to the libraries. They've been doing some, I guess if you want to say like testing with other larger libraries, and it's been going over really well. So like Sioux Falls, Aberdeen, Rapid City, all of them have been doing it for a year or two. And they have good responses for boys and girls coming to it.
All right, so we had a motion and a second, so we'll do all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 2 new hires are approved.
Thank you.
Item B, PD resignation.
Mayor and Council, we received a resignation from Sergeant John Roman effective March 10, 2022. Recommend a motion to approve.
What was the date?
March 10.
Can we go into exec to talk about it?
Yeah, we can. We've actually, the next one we would like to hold exec as well, so.
Okay.
So we want a motion to go into exec?
Yep.
So
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, into exec at 7:37.
We could go ahead.